Welcome to another episode of the Evolution of a Man podcast with your host, me, Dr. Josh Randall. And today I got a very, very, very special guest. This is my first one-on-one. Somebody that really doesn't need any introduction, but he's a trailblazer, an innovator, just an amazing person in the community here in Birmingham, Alabama. I want to introduce you guys to the District Attorney of Jefferson County, Mr. Danny Carr.
Hey, Doc, good to see you, man.
Good to see you too. How you doing today?
Hey, man, I'm doing fine, man. Proud to be on this podcast, man. You're doing great work. Proud of you.
Yes, sir.
And this is just the beginning.
It's just the beginning.
Absolutely.
Well, I got a lot of things to ask you today.
All right.
Man, where do I start? It's a whole list of things that I'm interested in knowing about. The first thing I want to get into is just tell us a little bit about like where you're from and how was it growing up?
You know, I'm from the Ensley area.
Yes.
And if anybody's born and raised in Birmingham, Ensley is considered one of the toughest places as far as violence and just people, in most instances,
Right.
not making it out alive per se,
Right.
or not making it out without being a felon per se,
Right.
or something like that. But I always tell people, I was born and raised in Ensley,
Right.
and I love Ensley and everything about Ensley. But the one thing I understood at an early age, man, was that just because you poor on me, you had to have poor dreams.
Right.
And I understood that, and understood from a standpoint of having playing sports.
Right.
Sports was key to me. Having a strong mother,
Yep.
single parent,
Right.
who was not my friend but my mom.
Right.
I tell a lot of people, I tell a lot of parents, if you're your child's best friend, you're losing,
You lose.
because life will chew them up and spit them out.
Mm.
So I always tell people, I get accolades from being the first black DA ever elected in Jefferson County. But
Right.
the reality is, anytime I'm speaking or getting accolades, my mom should be sitting right next to me, because she deserves the accolades more than I do, because she's the reason for the season, man.
Yeah, man. Speaking of your mom, I'm a Winona alumni.
I know.
Yeah, so
I know.
your mom was definitely my principal. And
Yes.
She was definitely a tough cookie. She was a no nonsense type of person.
Let me tell
She you could tell that she cared, right? So, just piggybacking off of your mom, what was she like for you growing up, and how did she influence and push you to be where you are today?
The one thing that she told me early on was, my family worked really hard to earn and keep a good name.
Right.
And a part of my job was to continue on that legacy.
Right.
I'll give you a quick story that I spoke at a church recently, and I told everybody in the church that, and my mom was actually in the audience.
Right.
And of course, she amened it. But, I remember being in the 7th grade at Council Elementary, and I came in, I said, Mom, I got straight A's. My first time ever making straight A's. I didn't make that often. Got straight A's, and she looked at me, and I remember it to this day, and she said, so what do you want me to do? You want me to give you something?
Right.
Something that you should do?
Right.
You should make straight A's. I feed you. I clothe you. I keep the bills on in the house.
Right.
You should make straight A's.
Right.
In other words, she wasn't rewarding me for something that I should do. What she was really showing me was, life is tough.
Right.
And the one thing you have to understand is you have to embrace the grind.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to dream, and dream big.
Yeah.
She always just say, son, shoot for the moon. So if you miss, you'll always be amongst the stars.
You'll be amongst the stars.
And I remember all those things she taught me.
Yeah, yeah. And just piggyback off what you're saying, that having a strong mother, like, we don't understand, because, women are, women are strong today. But again, like you said, through society, through raising kids, you see a lot of, parenting styles. They've changed over time because, like you said, we want to be our kids' friend. We don't want our kids to be mad at us. But just dealing in the justice system, in the legal system, how do you feel like having that relaxed parenting? How do you feel like that shows up in some of these guys and girls that are going to jail today?
I think sometimes parents want what's best for their kids.
Right.
They're very concerned about their kids not being mad at them,
Right.
or upset with them.
Right.
And what I call that, honestly, is indirectly being an enabler.
Right.
You're enabling things to happen. What I mean by that is, I can remember one time being at Winona, and my mom was the principal over there, of course, and
Right.
a parent walked in and basically undressed a a teacher, not undressed physically, but by the words that were used, because that teacher reported that child. And I thought to myself, this parent is enabling this child, because if you act like that in front of that child, then now you've given that child the okay to act like that. Yeah. And for me, learn behavior. Yeah. And for me, there's nothing wrong with, sometimes your child being upset with you. There's nothing wrong sometimes with saying no. Yeah. I always felt like that a parent's mother, father, whoever, parent's real basic goal should be, the one primary goal should be to give your child a fighting chance to succeed. Right. And I want people to think about that. Yeah. Your basic goal is to give your child a fighting chance to succeed. And what that means is that you make sure they understand that education is more powerful than a gun. That's right. I agree. Education is more powerful than a gun. Yeah. And if you get an education, that's something nobody can take away from you. Yeah, and I agree. And you being in the justice system and the legal system, you have to, part of your job now, you have to send people to jail. Absolutely. And another part of it is you have to, you have the ability to kind of help somebody get exonerated or, get them out of the legal system with, some of the things that you're doing in cases that you may see where somebody may have been wrongly convicted, or they may have done some things where the crime didn't deserve the punishment per se. So my question to you is, how do you balance that? How do you balance the fact that, hey, I got to send a person to jail, but at the same time, I also have another side of me where I want to help somebody get out of jail? And I'm going to answer that question in two phases. The first phase is that I've been at the DA's office 24 years. 24 years. Ever since I left law school. This year, July 1st, will be, 2 months from now, will be my 25th year. But I remember a lady asking me as I walked out of a courtroom about maybe 18 years ago. She looked at me and said, I know you. I know where you're from. I know your story. I know your little brother was murdered. I know you're from a single parent home. You're from Ensley. I know some of your friends are in prison right now. How do you sleep at night being the DA? And everybody just kind of looked. And my response to her was simple. I said, ma'am, if you don't have a seat at the table, you're probably on the menu. Yeah. And what I meant by that was having a seat at the table would allow me to help others. Right. The district attorney is, believe it or not, and most people don't know this, and I hope your viewers hear this. Right. The DA is the most powerful person in the criminal justice system. A lot of people, and there's no knock on judges or anything, or defense attorneys, but you don't get to a judge without who charging you first. The DA. That's right. You don't have to go hire a defense attorney unless you're charged by who? Yep. The DA. The district attorney is the person by law who sets diversion courts up, meaning theft court, drug court, mental health court, veterans court. Right. The DA has to authorize that. Yep. Right? Yes, sir. Guess who else signs off on expungements now? The DA. Yeah. So all those things that people don't know, asset forfeiture. Right. The one person that can take your personal property, if they can show that there's a nexus to what you have in criminality, is who? Right. The DA. Yeah. People don't know that. Right. The district attorney is the most powerful person in the criminal justice system. But the DA's job, if they're doing it the right way, is bifurcated. That means that the DA doesn't come to court with a client who has paid them any money. The DA only comes to court with facts and the law and truth. The one primary job of a DA, and I tell all 45 of my assistant DAs this, that your job is to just do what's right. Your job is to make sure that the guilty doesn't go free, but also that the innocent doesn't suffer. That's deep. Yeah. That's your job. Yeah. As the DA, if the cops shouldn't have searched your car and they search that car and they bring those drugs to you and ask you to charge somebody, you know what you got to say? I can't charge them because their search warrant is invalid. You got to let the drug dealer go. Right. That's the DA's job. If there's no probable cause on a homicide, you got to sit and tell the family, we can't go forward on this case. That's the DA job. But on the flip side of it, if you do have a case that's a tribal case, then your job is to go in and seek whatever punishment possible. But the DA has a wide latitude range of what they can do. Right. One day I could be in court asking for the death penalty.
Mm.
Then the next day I could be in court saying, get this man a second chance and get him in drug court, then help him get an expungement through programs that I set up.
So let's get into your mindset, because from a psychological perspective, most people on average may never deal with what you have to deal with. They may never see that in their lifetime.
Right.
So from a psychological standpoint, how do you process what you have to do? And how do you sleep at night knowing that, you know, your decisions can either help or put somebody's life in a position where they may never see the light of day again?
Yeah. You know, I tell people all the time, I don't have the luxury of emotions. I have the burden of proof.
Right.
And if people understand what that statement truly means, I don't have the luxury of emotions. Do I have emotions? Yes. But I don't have the luxury of emotions, because when you get emotional, when you're in a position of leadership, then the wrong thing happens.
Yeah.
Because you're not acting on facts.
Right.
You're not acting on the law.
Right.
You're not doing what's right. You're trying to make sure that whatever emotions you're feeling, that you satisfy them. I don't have the luxury of emotions. You know, I tell people all the time, leadership is not about being right. It's about making things right.
That's right.
But in order to do that, that takes courage.
Yeah.
Because when you're in a position of leadership, you know, imagine having a job every day, that 50% of the courthouse is mad at you and they don't even know you, because your name is on the door, your name is on the indictment, your name is on the plea agreement.
Yeah.
Never met you.
Yeah.
Think about this. If a guy gets probation, the other side is saying, you're too soft. We mad. He didn't go to jail.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you go to jail, the other side is saying, you're doing what white folks done to folks all the time. You put them in jail.
Yeah.
If you give them a second chance, you're not doing enough to keep society
Can't
safe.
make nobody happy.
If you don't give them a second chance, then you're putting people in jail and crowding the jails. Whatever you do, somebody's going to Monday morning quarterback your decision.
Yeah.
So my grandfather told me something that holds true today, man.
Yeah.
When I was sitting in the end of the night, I got elected, and I was sitting there, and he was sitting at the table, and my mom, we was sitting there, and the news was outside. I'm like, my granddad looked at me and he said this. He said, son, I want you to now be comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
What he meant was, now you be comfortable sometimes saying no. You be comfortable when you have to do what's right. You be comfortable doing it, but just do what's right. And when you get to that point, then you're comfortable being uncomfortable. And to answer your question, that's how I sleep at night, because I just try to do what's right.
Yeah.
And I always have an articulable reason for why I do something.
Yeah. And and that's deep. That's deep. And from a psychological perspective, like you said, you do have to get to a point where, a lot of people have this instance where they feel like they have to be liked. They have to be the person that everybody has to like them. And like you said, when you do take on these leadership positions, you have to understand that some of the choices that you make, people aren't going to agree with them. And from a psychological level, you got to get in a space where, like you said, you have to be able to trust your gut, trust your own instinct, and trust what you're doing, and believe that you are making the right decision. And know that at the end of the day, you have to be okay with the decisions and the choices that you make each and every day you step in that.
Absolutely. And I haven't talked about this publicly, but I will for a second, since we're on this great podcast.
Spill the tea. Go ahead.
I know a lot of people have either heard or know about the officer-involved shooting that happened in Homewood.
Right.
And everybody was up in arms and everybody going crazy, but nobody knew the facts.
Yeah.
I started off by saying, I don't have the luxury of emotions.
Yeah.
Everybody is emotional by what somebody else is saying.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody want to use their platform to have an opinion so they can get likes and clicks and all this stuff.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is, while everybody is beating down, my door and the DA's office door, and and want me to do something because they just want you to do it, or you should do it because you're the first African American.
Right.
That's one thing.
Mm-hmm.
But in reality, my job is always to do what's right. And a part of this job is to make tough calls. And
let me say this. Don't mean to cut you off. I want to say this. Do you feel like in the Black community, do you feel like it's psychological warfare in the Black community as it relates to what's fair and what's unfair? Meaning that you have people that when things happen, they want to cry, they want to get upset, they want to have outrage, but they're not realistic about who their people were, what they were involved in, what were some of the things that they, did to get themselves in those situations? So do you feel like in the Black community, it's more so of a psychological negative condemnation over what we expect?
There is absolutely no doubt.
Right.
And there is, in some instances, no accountability.
Right. That's what I was going to say.
There's no accountability. Most of the time you see when someone is shot and killed,
Right.
is always unfortunate. Mm-hmm. One is one too many.
Right.
But what we always see is this. We see an article that talks about the person that was killed.
Yes.
And it talks about what family members and people said about that person.
Right.
And it's always good. And they're going to always say that.
Yeah.
In some instances, it's true.
Yes.
But in a lot of them, I run that person's name when I get back to the office and they have a pending robbery, a pending rape, a pending burglary, on probation for drugs, trafficking, all the things that the public doesn't know.
Right.
So there is no accountability. There's never a time when somebody will truly say, you know what, I should have grabbed that young man.
Right.
Or a mother or uncle should say, you know what, I told him that's what the streets will do to you.
Right.
Or when you hang with the wrong people. Right. Or when you go around robbing individuals and come back to you, right? Yeah. They never say that. They want to put the onus on the system. Yeah. And I tell people all the time, when this was happening, where I was probably at home watching Netflix. That's not my fault. Yeah. That happened. Yes. Now I'm in a position where now I got to answer the call and figure out what's going to happen to those said individuals. Right. But our community has to get back to calling a spade, right? Even when it's uncomfortable, but also making sure that accountability is at the forefront. So
how you feel about because you see a lot of stuff in the media right now, and they got something called no snitching. Yeah. Right. They got something where the younger community says, well, if me and you did a crime together and we both get caught, you shouldn't tell, right? Right. And you shouldn't say anything because we're supposed to go to jail and keep our mouths closed because that's the street thing to do. So how do you feel about not snitching, right? What is your idea of that?
Two things. Number one, don't snitch is nothing but foolishness. Okay. Let me tell you why. That kind of conversation is prevalent in Ensley, Pratt City, North Birmingham, West End, all those areas that are urban areas that I frequented as a young man. Right. That's just the truth of the matter. Yeah. We don't talk to the police. Right. But those same individuals that say that, when something happened to their loved one, they're the first one beating the police department's door down about, I need to know who killed Johnny, or why y'all not doing anything. Right. But you're the same group that say you don't talk to the police. Yeah. We don't snitch. Yeah. But if a crime happens in Homewood, Vestavia, it's going to be solved like this, buddy. But if it happens in Ensley, it takes months because nobody will talk. Nobody will talk. You'll have 10 people standing out there. Nobody will say a word. That's wild. But then when you turn around, people want to know why they're unsolved murders. Right. If you don't have a person to take the stand and answer this question, ma'am, do you see the person that shot so-and-so? Yes. Right. Will you identify them for the ladies and gentlemen of the jury? Right. If you don't have a person to do that, you don't have a case, and people know that. Yeah. But why do you think? Why do you people? Because of course, you say, hey, the same people that say, hey, we're not going to snitch, but when it happens to their family, they be the first ones lined up. But why do you think, or where do you think the no snitching came from? Why is it such a stand up street thing to do to not talk to the police? Yeah, it's a culture thing for whatever reason. Right. But here's the other part of that. Our young people listen to a lot of rap music. Right. I listen to rap music. I was listening to rap music on the way up here. But what I do understand is that's just entertainment. Yes. It's not the life they live. Yes. Rick Ross and Jay-Z and 21 Savage, all these people saying they're doing all this stuff. Right. But their kids are going to private schools on yachts. Yes. While they're sending our kids to prison. Yeah. That's how we don't understand the difference, right? Yeah. So all of that negativity, man, social media. Yeah. I mean, all of that stuff just breeds, people. There'll never be a person. If a guy makes a rap song about killing, murder, shooting, drugs, sex, he's gonna sell a lot of albums. Yeah. The same guy with more talent can make a song about reading, education. He's gonna be in the soup line because of the connotation of what they're selling. Yeah. That narrative. Yeah. This narrative is gonna win every time right now. Yeah. And why that is, I truly don't know. Yeah. But another part of that too is it's hard for a person to come to court and identify a person that shot somebody else.
Yeah.
Because they're going back to that same neighborhood,
Yeah,
man.
that's same for
That's
me.
a reality.
Yeah, that's
They're
same.
going back to that same neighborhood. There's no ticker tape parade when they walk out that courthouse.
Yeah.
They're going back to that same neighborhood.
Yeah.
And so what's their motivation?
Mm.
But when you ask that same question, what's the motivation of that person in Vestavia who will come to court and say it?
Yeah.
Is their motivation that I don't want that person in my community, that my responsibility is to let the people know who did it, because if it happens to someone in my family, I want the same thing?
Yes.
I don't know.
Mm.
But those are questions that always linger,
Yeah.
throughout the halls of the criminal courthouse.
So, I mean, Birmingham, it has so much history.
Yeah.
It has so much history, and at one point it was a vibrant and thriving city. Over the years, through the 50s and 60s, you see a lot of, historic Black culture, from Dr. Martin Luther King to just some of the civil rights movements. Based on your tenure as DA, my question to you is, do you feel over the 24 years, this will be your 25th year coming up, do you see any progression in the city of Birmingham and Jefferson County? Do you see any progression? Is it getting better? Is it kind of stagnant? Is it still worse? I mean, what do you see as far as how it is now?
What I see is a concentrated effort in certain areas of town.
Right.
I see a concentrated effort downtown. I see a concentrated effort UAB.
Right.
I see a concentrated effort in certain areas that certain people want to infiltrate and kind of, diversify, Norwood.
Right.
Places like that.
Right.
I see areas that are neglected.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking and hoping that at some point those areas would have a seat at the table as well.
Yeah.
And I know, Rome wasn't built overnight.
It was.
It takes time, and you can only do so much with what you have. I get that.
Right.
But I do believe that there are certain things that can be done citywide, and there are certain things can be done for other pockets of town.
Right.
Because those areas, when you don't have hope, man,
Mm-hmm.
when you just don't have hope,
Yeah.
it's difficult.
Yeah. It is.
Let me pose. I'm gonna tell you what a young man told me.
Right.
For the people that's listening,
Mm-hmm.
and also for you,
Yeah.
because I know your mind. You're a critical thinker.
Yes.
I want
Yes, sir.
to give you this.
Yes, sir.
6 years ago, two of my best friends are serving prison in St. Clair Correctional Facility.
Right.
Guys I went to school with every day, played Little League football with, played boxing in the backyard, everything. The only difference was they didn't have strong parents at home.
Mm-hmm.
I did.
Yeah.
But their sons are still out. Their sons were part of my mentorship group called the DA's League of Gentlemen.
Right.
But I asked them the year before they became a part of the group
Right.
at McAlpine. I said, let me talk to y'all. I said, tell me this. Why? And at the time they were, I think, 13 and 15 or something like that.
Right.
I said, why is there so much fascination with guns from young people?
Mm.
I said, why is that?
Right.
The 13-year-old boy looked at me. He said, Dan, I'm going to keep it 100. That's what he said. He said, I'm going to tell you why.
Wow.
He said, because guys with guns get out of jail, but guys don't get out of graves.
Mm.
Think about that.
Yeah. That's deep.
That's deep.
That's deep.
That's the mind of a 13-year-old.
That's deep.
Guys with guns get out of jail, but guys don't get out of graves.
Yeah.
So that's the mindset.
Yeah.
That's the mindset. And again, those are things that we don't think about. But then he also did this and said, well, Dan, let me ask you a question.
Right.
When I come home, my little sister over there crying because my dad's in prison. My mama's out in the street. She's crying because she's hungry. I flick the light switch. It doesn't come on. What am I to do? Think about the quadratic equation?
Yeah. You're
Think
right.
about that.
It's things
It's
that
deep,
are more
man.
important. Yeah. Things that are more important.
So all those are things that we have to consider, not only just brick and mortar, when we're talking about building up Birmingham, but we got to build up hope, opportunity.
Yeah.
We got to figure that out.
Yeah.
And once we figure that out, I truly have confidence in our people, because we've always overcome.
Right.
But we got to be able to see the light at the end of the tunnel.
And let me ask you this question, because this is one of the, it was a question that was posed to me, and me and a friend of mine was talking about the law, right? And you named all those those living conditions and those upbringing, those negative conditions that some of these young men and young women are growing up in. And so you and I can understand that it's a direct correlation between their upbringing that then kind of spirals into crime or a negative outlook.
Yes.
When you're sentencing, or when some of these guys are getting sentencing, and I know you have to kind of honor, not kind of, but you have to honor every letter of the law.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look at a young man, let's say he doesn't have any priors, right?
Right.
But you also look at his life, and let's say he represents one of those cases where dad's in prison, mother's on drugs, he doesn't know how to survive, and he's doing these things out of survival.
Right.
How does that situation play a part in how you look at a case?
You know, there are certain cases that DAs have a wide range of discretion.
Right.
But there are certain offenses where discretion kind of goes out the window. Okay. And what I mean by that is this. You walk up to a lady walking out of Walmart in a basket, put a gun to her head and blow her brains out. Discretion goes out the window.
Gotcha.
There's a real punishment for that.
Yeah.
And it should be.
Right.
If you get caught with a little weed, there's a lot of discretion.
Right.
Right? You get caught stealing socks, there's a lot of discretion.
Yeah.
That's where diversion courts come in.
Right, right.
You, a grown man, rape a child,
yeah,
discretion goes out the window.
Yeah.
So a lot starts at, what did you do?
Yeah.
What did you do? Why are we here?
Yeah.
Why are we here will really dictate which avenue we go down.
Right.
Right? Now, you said no priors. That was important.
Yeah.
Because if he has priors, then what's called the Habitual Felony Offender Act kicks in.
Yeah.
You know, 1 prior felony conviction, 2 to 20 years. 2 prior felony convictions, and it's just a Class C felony, 10 to 99 of life. 3 prior felony convictions, 15 to 99 of life. But if it's a Class A,
yeah,
no prior felony convictions. If it's a capital case, it's life without parole. It's minimum. So it depends on why we're here. Give you another example. People don't know.
Right.
Quick law lesson. You shoot into a car, that is a capital case, non-death, but the maximum and minimum you can get is life without parole. Change the facts. We standing at the door of the car and we both standing there, the max you can get is life. So you're eligible for parole because the person not in the car. If you sit in the car, you never get out. If you shoot from a car, you never get out. Why is that? What's the motivation for that? What's the legislative intent of that law? To stop the drive-bys.
Yeah.
Drive-bys became prominent.
Yep.
So they started punishing them more.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
2 people shoot each other standing up, you're eligible for parole.
Yeah.
But you sit in the car, I never get out. So again, why we here is really the determining factor as to how much discretion is available.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess, what about those, and I want to say this, what about those cases where you have 2 young men and emotions are high?
Right.
And both of them got weapons, and you can't, from a discretion perspective, you can't really pinpoint the motive, but these 2 young men start shooting at each other.
Right.
One survives, one dies. How do you guys look at that case from a legal perspective and say, okay, this man, he both of them had a gun, one of them didn't make it?
That's a great question. Let me first, and I'm glad you said that.
Right.
For the listeners,
right,
let me say this first off.
Right.
Alabama has what's called a stand your ground law.
Right.
Stand your ground. Why is that important? Stand your ground means this, is that if I reasonably believe that you are about to use deadly force on me, then I can use deadly force to protect myself. But here's where it starts. This is where it gets tricky.
Okay.
It also says, if you reasonably believe that I'm about to be assaulted in the 1st or 2nd degree, I can use deadly force to protect myself. So when you hear people say, well, he didn't have a gun, the law don't require me to fist fight you. If you are the aggressor, you're coming toward me, I can use deadly force to protect myself under the stand your ground law.
But that gets tricky, though.
It does.
That's a slippery slope.
But the law says it plainly.
I get it.
Under 13A, it says assault in the 1st or 2nd degree.
Right.
Look in the Title Code 13A.
Yeah.
And I showed families this.
Right.
Well, my son didn't have a gun. He shot me. He was going ready to fight him, but he should have fought him. The law says if he believe reasonable,
Yes.
the reasonable man standard, right? Is it reasonable if my back is turned to you and I'm backing up to you to fight you? Is that reasonable for you to believe that I'm about to assault you in the first or second degree? No.
Right.
If the interest were in the back. But if I'm facing towards you, coming towards you, if I'm finna beat your now it's reasonable.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
I got you.
So again, people need to understand that, number one.
Right.
That the law don't require fist fights.
Right.
But it's on a case by case basis.
Yeah.
It's on a case by case basis.
Yeah. And in a situation like that, because I know an investigation has to happen.
Absolutely.
So you try to now. Has there ever been a case where you see that instance happen, and you go back and investigate the two young men and their relationship and what has happened over the course of time, and then you can come up with a conclusion? And is there a case where you can rule out
all the time? We've declared self-defense on a lot of cases, and it doesn't make people happy,
right?
Because when someone is killed, we talked about it earlier. Everybody always throws the word justice out there.
Yeah, we
want justice. Well, based on the facts and the way your loved one was acting, there is no justice for you.
Yeah,
your loved one put himself or herself in that position. That's good. Right? Yeah. I mean, that's the reality.
Right.
Now, on the flip side of that, again, if a person, and it says reasonable,
right?
It's got to be reasonable. It can't just be a circumstance. Is it reasonable? What they call a reasonable man standard, a prudent, walking around, everyday, common sense person will believe that they're about to be assaulted in the first or second degree. Now, that's a subjective standard looking at the facts, right?
Right.
But that's what the law says. So it doesn't have to be a gunfight. Right? I can be walking towards you, ready to punch you.
Right.
And you shoot me.
That's it.
That may be self-defense.
That may be self-defense.
Absolutely. Now, there's a lot of other things factor into that.
Yeah.
If you're at work, you don't have to retreat.
Yeah.
Right? If you're at home, a home is a man's or woman's castle. You don't have to retreat. Remember your grandmother used to say you shoot somebody, you have to drag them in the house. Remember this? You drag them in, that's really not the law. If a person is in your curtilage, and they're threatening you and they're about to come in and kicking on your door, you have
every right.
That's the question. But it's always on a case by case basis.
Yeah. So I want to kind of pivot the conversation. I know that you on top of being a DA in Jefferson County, you also you're a prominent businessman.
Yeah.
Right. And I know you got your things in your hands in a lot of things around the city, being an innovator, being a entrepreneur as well. How do you balance that out, and how do you make a choice on what business you want to get in, and especially for the young entrepreneurs out there?
Right.
Like, explain that process to me.
Well, my family was always big on number one, credit. Yeah. I remember my grandmother, my mom always saying credit is better than money any day of the week.
Yeah.
If you got credit, you can buy whatever you want.
Yeah.
And and as a grown man, having owning real estate and owning businesses and investing in things, you don't walk in with cash.
Yeah.
You walk in with cash, trust me, the IRS coming to see you.
Yeah.
You have to have credit. And even if you have cash, the bank want to know what's your credit score.
Yeah.
Do you have credit?
Yeah.
Do you have money in the bank? Do you have something that we can leverage?
Yeah.
So my first is always monitor your credit.
Yeah.
Always take care of your credit. Always pay your bills.
Right.
But secondly, always partner with people you trust. Number two, never partner with someone who always talking about what they're going to do, but has never done it before.
Yeah.
But third, you have to find a market that there's a gap.
Yeah.
And you have to be willing to reinvest in your business. Meaning, if you're in business with somebody and they have to live off the business, it's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
So you have to take all those things, into consideration. People know, I own a barber and beauty shop in Inslee.
Right.
Been owned it 17 years, man. And I don't make any money off that barber and beauty shop. The reason I opened it was because that was another way of me giving back. Meaning that I have guys in there and ladies in there doing hair, and I don't charge them hardly anything for booth rent.
Right.
But what it does is they've all come up. They're doing well.
Yeah.
They don't have to struggle.
Yeah.
They have a talent.
Yeah.
And I was able to provide them with an area and a building with resources where they have talent. So again, that was a way of me giving back, right?
Right.
You know, they say what you do for the least of thee, right?
Yes,
God
sir.
will bless you.
Amen.
And so again, I just believe that, man.
Yeah.
And you know, when you do things for people,
Yeah.
you know, things will come back twofold.
Yeah. Yeah. And man, my whole thing is, and I look at some of the, the businesses that you own in the city of Birmingham and everybody, man. I tell people all the time, every time I come to your establishments,
Right.
they well put together.
I appreciate it.
Everything is running smoothly. The people are great. The energy is great.
No, I appreciate it, man.
I guess my question is, how do you? I mean, I want to ask you this though. How do you know who to work with? Though?
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
that's the key, because you can't do it by yourself.
I
Based on
agree.
your schedule,
Let me tell you,
you got going on.
You have to pray every night before you go to sleep.
I mean,
and I'll say this too. A lot of things, businesses that I get involved in, number one, and truthfully, it's not really even for the money.
Yeah.
Because I got a career. That's
Yeah.
if the business closed tomorrow, it doesn't change my lifestyle.
Yeah.
And that's not an arrogant statement.
Yeah.
That's just a fact for people who are watching.
Right.
But the reality is that if you really nurture it and if you really care about it and if you reinvest in it,
Right.
People will see it.
Yeah.
And people will come.
Right.
But you also have to make sure that people know that they are appreciated when they come.
Yeah.
That's important because people can go anywhere. There are a lot of different places people can go.
Yeah.
But when they come, they feel at home.
Yeah.
They feel comfortable.
Right.
And for me, most of the establishments are places where I feel comfortable going.
Right.
Because I can't go anywhere.
Yeah.
So, and when you have a job, as I told you, 50% of the courthouse mad, or anytime somebody call you, it starts with, my cousin Pooka did not shoot them folks. He just shot one person instead of 3.
Wow.
And you help him.
Wow.
Right? He only had 5 pounds of marijuana, not 2.
Wow.
Nobody ever calls me and just said, Dan, how you doing, man? Let's just go out and have a drink or have dinner. It's on me.
Yeah.
Think about it. Nobody.
Right.
Well, except you. You do.
Yeah, I call check on you. I make sure you
Nobody ever called and just said, Dan, how you doing, man?
Yeah.
You want to meet me now and just have a drink, just say how you doing.
Yeah.
Nobody.
Yeah.
So,
and that's the thing, too. I think people don't realize how much you have to deal with.
Yeah.
They don't understand the capacity in which your mental state, because you work in a high stressful environment.
High stressful environment.
And I understand. Like, if I call you in court, you got something going on, you're in a meeting, I already know what time it is. I don't have to second guess that.
Right.
But I guess my next question is, you're accessible, right?
Right.
I mean, you see district attorneys in other places, you see judges, they walk around, and not saying everybody, but they walk around with this attitude.
True.
But you're just like one of the guys.
Yeah.
Where do you think that accessibility to you, being able to reach out and touch you, where do you think that come from?
I understand that people always say, my plan is to do this. My plan. It's not your plan, it's God's plan, right?
Right.
But what I also realize is this, is that, one of the major components to me is that I always pose question to people, and I said, why you? Why are you blessed? Tell me, why are you blessed instead of you being the person that's homeless out there, or the person that's, doesn't have food to eat or no heat in the house?
Right.
Why God chose you? I ask groups that all the time.
Right.
And I said, let me give you the answer to that. You're blessed because God knows that you're going to be a blessing to others.
Right.
So he blessed you.
Right.
So I always feel like he blessed me, man. He blessed me. I never said this publicly.
Yeah.
This was not a path that I chose originally. And people know, some people who are here locally know this. I worked there, got appointed by the presiding judge when the guy who won the election got indicted, and then I worked there for a year as the DA pro tem.
Right.
Went up to the governor, and the governor went to interview with them, and they got me in office, and they said, hey, there are 2 things we want you to do. And when they told me what it was, and I said no, came back home. 3 days later, breaking news. My grandma called me. I forget like yesterday. What you did? What have you done? I've been removed. It was all over the news. Danny Carr removed as DA. They appointed a guy in the office, a Republican. Appointed him, so I had to take my stuff out. And I left. And I decided then, I said, I always talk about integrity.
Right.
Integrity. So I knew then that God, number one, made sure that I didn't leave my integrity in that governor's office. Because one thing they said was, we'll have a press conference right now for you on the Capitol steps. You'll be the first African-American DA. but you got to do this. And I said, no, I couldn't do it. And so in doing that, God gave me the courage and the wherewithal to say no. Fast forward, God put on my heart, you going to run. And I'm like, no, you're going to run.
Right.
But God put that on my heart through the community.
Right.
Because let me tell you, I couldn't sleep. I couldn't eat. I couldn't go nowhere. It was no place I can go that somebody, black, white, Hispanic, conservative, non-conservative, said, you need to run. We're going to support you financially. You're going to be the DA.
Wow.
So he didn't work directly through my mind. He worked through other people.
That's right.
And they encouraged me, man, and I did it. And let me tell you, man, it was a blessing, honestly, that people trusted me with the position. And that's why I'm accessible. That's why I just believe that you have to show up. People tell me, man, you do too much. You go too many places.
Yeah.
Why are you having a second chance job fair? You the DA. You don't have to worry about that stuff.
Yeah.
But the reality is, it's okay being the first black. But if people don't feel your leadership, then it doesn't matter.
Right.
I can sit in the courthouse all day, man, and drink coffee, put folks in jail. Not going to,
Right.
But really, what are you doing to make a difference?
Right.
So that's what I try to do, man, with this position is try to make a difference. And it may be unorthodox.
Yeah.
I told people when I ran, nobody should do life without parole for nonviolent cases.
Right.
We had 26 people in doing life without parole for drug cases, nonviolent cases, nobody hurt. And I told you this,
Yeah.
and I ran on that. And right now, 24 of them are out. They're out. 3 of them I had lunch with at the fish market once a month.
Yeah.
2 of them I met when I spoke at St. Clair Prison.
Yeah.
So all those are things that I don't publicly talk about.
Right.
All the diversion courts that in most counties you have to pay for, you don't have to pay a fee to get in diversion courts in Jefferson County. You don't have to do that.
Right.
Another thing, I don't take cash bonds. I don't like cash bonds. Just because you don't have cash, right? I don't like cash bonds. You don't do cash bonds in Jefferson County.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
First Restorative Justice Program here in Jefferson County.
Right.
All those are things that we're doing that I feel just important, man, that when I leave, hopefully I leave a legacy there.
Yeah.
And hopefully the next person, whoever gets it,
Yeah.
whenever that is,
Right.
Take up the mantle, man. But
So you know what the $1 million question is though. So when you do you have any political?
I knew him.
Yeah, I got to come with it. So do you have any political spaces outside of the DA, right? Because everybody want to know if you're gonna run for mayor or not. I gotta ask you.
Oh, I knew he was going.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So
oh
do you have? I don't know if you made it 100% definitive yet, but is there something that's on your heart that you might want to kind of pursue, or you don't know yet, or you kind of still on the fence?
I don't know. Randall and I are friends. I tell people that all the time. He's, I think he's doing a good job.
Right.
People ask me all the time, you gonna run for senator? Are you gonna run for this? And I tell people all the time, right now, I'm concentrating on being the DA, concentrating on being the best DA I can be.
Right.
But I am in a good space in my career now, a blessed space where in 2 months, still young, thank God I'm still healthy.
Right.
In 2 months, I can drive to the office, July 4th, I can drive to the office that morning and decide, you know what? I'm not going to turn to that gate. I'm going to turn and go back home.
Right.
The same check is going to come to me for the rest of my life.
That's right.
You can't beat that.
Yeah.
So now what that means is this, is that all the things I was doing and catching flack for, anytime I do something, y'all don't understand the hate email I get sometimes from the other side.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
We're coming for you. The hate email I get, right? But now I'm going to ramp it up a little more.
Yeah.
Because, I can just wake up the next day and decide, instead of going to DA's office, I'm going to go to Waffle House and call the press conference from Waffle House and said, I'm done.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to order me 2 eggs over easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
All-Star. Yeah.
A waffle light. And I'm done.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's a blessing, man. But right now, it's good to have options.
Yeah.
But no, man, I'm happy where I am.
Yeah. And as we kind of wind down, I want to ask you this last thing.
Okay.
I know this podcast is something that you don't normally do.
Right.
It kind of gives people another insight or another vantage point of who you are and what you kind of stand on and stand for.
Right.
But after this podcast airs, What do you want people to know mostly about you, and what do you want to say to the people that's watching or listening?
First, I want to say this to the people that's watching
Okay.
and listening. Um, three things. Number one, and I want you to take this to heart.
Right.
Once you realize the power of your mind,
Right.
you won't just think anything.
Right.
Once you realize the power of your tongue, you won't just say anything.
Right.
And once you realize the power of your presence, you won't just be anywhere. That's important. That's important for people to know.
Right.
And I want people to take that and ball it up and hold on to
Oh
it.
my God. That was
Now, lastly, I want people to understand that, real courage to me is having the courage to be successful.
Right.
Nowadays, with all of the bipartisan stuff and people always looking for negativity, people always looking to shut you down, people always looking to tell you what you can't do.
Right.
Having the courage to fall down, get back up, having the courage to understand that, wherever I am doesn't dictate where I can go.
Yeah.
I want people who watch this to know that I'm a young man from the hood, still goes to the hood, still loves the hood. Best friends are in prison, listen to rap music, understand all that stuff.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I also understand that, you have to have courage to be successful, and you have to have courage to set all that stuff aside and realize your dreams. And the only way you can realize that dream is to embrace the grind it takes to get there. And if you embrace that grind and pound that pavement every day,
Yes, sir.
man, you or lady, whoever watching,
Yeah.
you can be whatever you want to be. No excuses. Let's go get it.
Yes, sir. Well, Mr. Carr, thank you so much for your time.
Proud of you, brother.
Yeah, I'm proud of you,
too,
man. Thank you. You're doing amazing things. It was an
you.
honor and a privilege to have you. And thank you for taking the time out of your busy, super busy schedule.
Yes, sir.
To be here, because I tell everybody and everybody that knows me, when somebody gives you their time, they give you a piece of their eternity.
Hey,
So thank
I'm
you.
on it. I'm
Thank
on
you.
it.
Thank
I'm
you.
on it.
So hope you guys enjoyed that episode, man. It was deep. It was deep. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you guys for watching the Evolution of a Man podcast, and that concludes this episode.